Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Benefits Cooldown. That is Ed Legande. I'm still Eric Silverman. And boy, are we excited to have you listen to today. Ed and I have been talking a lot about various topics, but today's topic is near and dear to my heart. And Ed, I'm gonna call an audible and turn it around to you. Actually, throw you off guard, send you a curveball. My question to you is, and this applies to both of us, quite frankly, but we've both been speaking for a while, like being asked by vendors and other brokerages and solution providers and even carriers to speak publicly, whether it's virtually, whether it's in person. Many times it's even a paid speaking gig for a lot of people in the industry. What do you think, though? How do you think that came about for you? And then, of course, I'll share my opinion.
Well, first and foremost, you've been throwing me curveballs since we've met. So,
Keep you on your toes.
Exactly. Well, I owe a lot of that to you, just pulling me out of my shell. I've talked to, several people about this, and, John Chopman and I from Mazzini and Sullivan have spoken about being, extroverted introverts, right? Where we get a lot of juice from hanging around people. But it kind of, it's hard for us to do, right? It's not the easiest thing to do to kind of put yourself out there. Overarchingly, I've had this big belief that in order to drive innovation and to get great ideas, you need to hear tons of different perspectives and hear people with different experiences and backgrounds and so on and so forth. And when you couple that with the belief that you yourself have something to give, that's where some of that energy and confidence can come from, right? Secondly, it's just believing in who you are as well. There's tons of great awards from all of the great magazines that are out there in our benefit industry, and just, promoting yourself within that, because you do have something to give, and that also can help create those particular opportunities. At the end of the day, even doing this with you, right? And, it's a way for me to continue to get to know you better, get to know maybe your perspectives. You work with people that do what I do, right? And that is your day to day, so on and so forth. So ultimately, going to these conferences and hearing everyone else speak, you have something to give as well. And so, reaching out to the lead editors and saying, hey, put yourself out there. Sooner or later, you're going to get that speaking gig, and people are going to enjoy what you have to say. And then it's just going to keep going from this point forward, right? And so ultimately, you're kind of the expert in this arena. I know you just did, kind of a major keynote last week, or maybe a couple of weeks ago. Walk me through your strategy and how you continue to get these gigs, day in and day out.
So yeah, I mean, everything you just said is very, very true and very important, and it all works. From a practical standpoint, though, I'm not a big believer in things just accidentally happening or planned or something you could plan for. Meaning, I don't typically set out to speak at a conference or to have somebody hire me to speak at a conference. But each and every year, I'm speaking in person and or virtually at dozens of conferences every year. And many of them have turned into paid speaking gigs. And the question that anybody's asking or wants to know is, well, how do you do that? Like, that sounds awesome. I'd love to do that. Well, I just practice from a marketing perspective of, speaking in front of a massive audience, whether in person or virtual, is marketing. It's thought leadership, it's influence. And I'm not a shy person, so I don't mind doing it. And things just kind of fall into my lap. Now, I'm not saying that to brag. It happened over many, many years. It's not an overnight success thing. It happens because, as you said, doing these quick little videos with people, consistently being on social media, consistently posting a message that people can resonate, consistently day in and day out showing up for colleagues and contacts and friends, writing articles for the major benefit publications. This all just naturally leads to thought leadership, to you or I or anybody being somebody that somebody else feels has value that they should be able to share or would want to share with the audience. Another thing that's helped me that could be an idea that anybody, if you want more details, reach out to me because we don't have time today. But the podcast that I have, Rockstars Rockin', rockstarsrockin.com. We're approaching 100 episodes later this year, and I just started it for fun. But by having other thought leaders and benefit advisors and brokers and vendors and solution providers and carriers at the executive level, by having them on the show, things lead to good things. I'll give you an example. We're both big fans of Ease, the platform for benefit enrollment technology. And I had the CEO and founder of Ease, David Reed, on the podcast, and he doesn't know me. I don't know him. I love his product, but I don't know him, admittedly. And who knows if he knows me, but he came on the show. And at the end of the show, he naturally, like it happens nearly every single time for those that don't know, he said, "Hey, Erica, so what do you really do for a living? Like, is this podcast thing like your full-time job?" And one thing led to another. I shared with him all about what I do, how I do it. And within 2 weeks, his marketing team emailed me randomly and said, "Hey, David would love to have you speak at the upcoming Ease conference in Vegas. We want to pay for you to come out there, have a good time, and you're going to speak on stage right after David with the opening keynote on day one in front of 300 people live and thousands virtually." Well, I mean, you can say it was an accident, you can say it was planned, but it really wasn't. I mean, I would argue it's more of an accident than anything. I just had the guy on the show, had a great conversation, and one thing led to another. So again, my message would be you have to consistently put yourself out there in positions where people see you and view you as the authentic thought leader that you want to be, that you are. And good things just happen. So I don't know. Does that help? What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, you're showing ways about how to build a personal brand. And, you're living your truth in that way. So I appreciate it.
There you go. Well, we appreciate everybody listening. I appreciate you, Ed. This has been another fantastic episode, at least in our opinion, of the Benefits Cooldown. A little bit longer than usual, so I appreciate you tuning in, and stay tuned for next week. Next Friday, we will have another episode of the Benefits Cooldown. Thanks, everybody.